Today we are going to be looking at using bulk data feeds. So we're going to go into a bit of a deep dive into how to use these, and hopefully after the session you'll be able to put them to good use on your own account. So let's just crack on. So in this training session, how to use vWriter.com's bulk data feeds, or BDFs, to keep your social media profiles updated on autopilot. You can use them for, say, tips, images, promotional content, archived content such as old blog posts, and so on. Using them allows you to connect, engage, and build relationships with your social audiences in a really easy way. Build traffic to your website, and it all saves massive amounts of time. As you'll see, once it's set up, it then just works for you on autopilot and kind of keeps your social profiles updated and looking very active and healthy. So first of all, what are bulk data feeds? It's really a set of data that you upload, and I'll show you exactly how to do this. A set of data that you upload to your account that becomes effectively a content feed within your account, but one you've created yourself. So you're not linking to, say, your blog, for example, or some other feed. It's a feed that you're creating directly within your vWriter account, and you can then connect it with a publishing channel. So use it to feed a publishing channel, or multiple publishing channels, in fact. One really good way to use this, probably the best way to use bulk data feeds, is to keep your social profiles updated with regular information, and that's what we'll be focusing on today. You can set how often it publishes. So you'll upload your data and then say, I want one piece of data from this data set to publish, say, once a day, once every 3 days, twice a month. It's completely up to you how often you set that to publish. And then as soon as it publishes, it will feed whichever publishing channel that you've connected with that. In terms of the benefits of using these bulk data feeds, it literally saves you hours of time posting that same information manually. If you were going to go around the different social profiles every so often and kind of take the next bit of information you wanted to tweet out or you wanted to post on Facebook, it would first of all be a management nightmare, and secondly, it would just take up time and disrupt other activities and so on. And more than likely, because of that, and I've found it in my own experience, because of that, it just doesn't get done. So a social profile that could have otherwise looked active just doesn't, because you just don't get around to doing that at the right time and so on. So it not only saves you time, it also means it actually gets done, which is really useful. As I've said, it keeps your social profiles active. That's really important to show your business is alive, for example. And in doing that, it boosts your sales conversion rates. And I published a blog post on this type of topic yesterday, in fact, and there's a link there on the screen if you want to go read that. It actually put me off purchasing something online because I found that their Twitter account was active for a few months, but then had stopped a few months ago and was no longer publishing content. It just looked very dead. And after looking at their blog and so on, that seemed to be dead as well, and the Facebook wasn't too active either. So all in all, because of all that, I didn't buy, even though I was very, very ready to buy, but I just wanted to do a bit of extra research before I did. So in keeping your social profiles active in this way, you really show that you're still open for business, and it is a big sort of social proof part of the equation, and it just boosts your potential prospects, your potential customers, their faith and their trust in you as a business, and encourages them to kind of carry on down that slope towards the sale for you. So the bulk data feeds is just an easier way to get that done, really. It also opens up opportunities and communication with your marketplace, simply because you are active and you're showing yourself active with these continual communications and so on. It's all part of the mix. So you've probably mixed up these bulk data feeds with other content, for example, content from your blog and content that you've created from elsewhere. So other bits of information that you feel would be useful to people in your marketplace that you want to make available for them. And effectively, boost your own authority in doing so, and boost your traffic. So you can use these bulk data feeds for archived blog post content, for example. You may have a long list of previous blog posts that maybe aren't getting as much traffic as they used to. You can just set these up in a feed, in a bulk data feed, and get some more traffic to them. Keep those alive. And the same goes for content that you might have that you might have elsewhere, such as slide shares. You might have YouTube videos that you want to get traffic to as well, recordings of webinars and so on. You may have guest posted on other blogs that you want to send traffic to, and in so doing, you'll boost your own authority, the fact that your content is on other blogs and so on. You may have case studies related to your business that you can send out. The trick with social media is not to really sell directly, but to sell indirectly, and all this type of content that you're sending out boosts your authority and boosts your potential customers' trust in you as a business. It builds you up as a person, as a business, and so on by posting these sorts of this kind of content to social media. You can also use it for regular events. For example, you may have a once a month event, and you can hook up a bulk data feed to send out a quick tweet every month or so, for example, that may remind people about your event that's coming up, and use it in that kind of way. It's also really good to build leads. You may have a variety of squeeze pages or name squeeze pages, which are specifically designed with the express purpose in mind of getting somebody's name and email address. And as you get into things like Facebook advertising or Google advertising and so on, you tend to have a number of these different squeeze pages offering different reports, for example, different lead magnets that are attracting people to your business in different ways. And you can use bulk data feeds to send traffic to these pages as well, get some additional click through, and convert some of the people who are following you on social media into direct leads for your business. Obviously, they're following you on social media because they have some kind of interest. You're not quite sure how certain that is, but you can then convert those people on social media into, say, an email lead, and then follow up with them through email and get the sale through that way. And of course, along with that, you're building sales. You can, for example, have regular periodic promotions. It depends on the type of business you have, but potentially you could offer periodic discount codes through the BDFs. You may have a particular spotlight on a product. You may just link to a review of it, or just some more information about a particular product every so often, and you can put images in these BDFs as well to kind of add extra engagement and so on. You may want to send out the odd testimonial through bulk data feeds. You may have a number of testimonials. You probably won't do this sort of every day, but you may well every 2 or 3 weeks send out a new testimonial, a new positive comment about your business, just to boost that social proof. Case studies, again, would be another great example to help you build sales through that mechanism. You may link to third-party reviews of your business, of your product, and so on, again helping to build sales with people who are following you on social media. So let's go into how to actually add these bulk data feeds. You would go to your content source manager, which you can access from the left-hand menu. You can see on the left there, just click sources, the link there. And once you're on your content source manager, just hover over the little plus icon there and select the add bulk data feed option there. And this is all you see in the setup, really. It's very, very straightforward. You enter a name that you want. It's really for your own reference, of course. The description, again, for your own reference. For this example, this relates to a blog post I did about 3 weeks or so ago. And I asked my assistant to basically extract the tips from that particular blog post. You can see it's got 101 traffic tips. So obviously in the blog post, there were more, there was a lot more content, but I wanted that really condensed down into short sentences that were going to be suitable for Twitter. So I asked my assistant to go ahead and do that and get a spreadsheet with 101 of those tips listed down that I would then use for a bulk data feed. So that's really what I've done here. So I entered in the name, entered in a description so I know what it relates to in future, and I set it to publish once every 5 days. And you'll see I link this up with Twitter in a little while, and I also do the same with Facebook a bit later on as well. Again, with these bulk data feeds, as with other things in your account, you can set them to a specific project, so only that project, it only has visibility within that project. So once you've done that, just click Submit. You then need to add some data, and you'll see a little message at the top asking you to add some data. And to do that, you just simply click the Add New Data button. You won't be able to activate this feed until you do so. In terms of activating the feed doesn't start running until you actually want it to, and to make it start running, you activate it, and I'll show you how to do that shortly. But first of all, we need to get some real data in there. You can enter data in one by one or on an individual basis. Even once you've got data in there, you can then add further data on an individual basis, for example. But it's a lot easier to do it through the bulk data method, where you can just have a spreadsheet and upload that. So I'll show you how to do that. So click the Add Bulk Data link in the little window that appears. And you'll see that you can upload a CSV file, which is basically a comma-separated file. You can, if you set up a spreadsheet in something like Excel, or what I use, Google Spreadsheets, you can then go and download that in CSV file format, which is basically data separated by commas, and upload that type of file. So you can have up to 3 items of data in the order shown, and I'll show you examples of this so it's really clear. This really refers to the columns that you'd have on a spreadsheet if you were then going to export it as CSV. So you can optionally have some text. If you leave out the text for the first column, you then would have to have an image link in the third column. It's either one or the other, basically. So in other words, you can't just have a link going out. It's got to either have some text or a link to an image, which will then be posted as an image to your social profile. So it'll be a text, some text, some summary text that might be the basis of your tweet or your Facebook post, for example. Then a link, which is completely optional. So in some circumstances, you would want to link back to, say, an archived blog post. In other circumstances, you won't. For example, if you're just you just want to post a useful tip or a useful bit of information to your community, you may not always have a link. It's not always about getting traffic. It's also about relationship building and just community building as well. The image link, again, it's optional, as I've said. That has to link to a GIF, a JPEG, or a PNG image, which are the most common formats. It was unlikely you'll have an image of a different format, but it's those 3 that work through the system. So these are some examples of CSV file lines that would be suitable, that would be valid. So a CSV file would have lots of these lines in them, basically. So on this example, you have the summary text, you would have a link, and you have a link to an image as well. So it's all showing there. It would also be completely valid to just have some text, and in the example I'll show you soon, that's the format I use. So just having some text, no link, no image there either. This would be valid as well. You'll notice that the first 2 are empty. If I just had the image link for the first column, it would be treated just as the summary text and not actually as an image link. So make sure that you leave those empty columns if you're doing this in a spreadsheet, and then have the image link if you're only posting an image for the third column. For example, I'll show you an example right at the end where I've used this just for posting motivational type images, so images with a motivational quote in them. And to do that, I used this kind of format for the CSV file. This is another valid format where you just have the summary text and a link, but there's no image link. And again, here you have no text, but you do have a link, and you have an image. So when posted, you'll just see a link and an image. That's perfectly fine too. If you just post a link, that would not be valid. So that's just to clarify that one. So this is the example I'm using. So we had the blog post 2 or 3 weeks ago. A very basic spreadsheet was just set up for this within Google Spreadsheets. You'll see the link to the blog post at the bottom left there in case you want to go and view the post itself. But we basically had one column within the spreadsheet, so there's no link, there's no image link, just a column full of condensed down tips. and that was used as the basis of the bulk data feed. To get that as a CSV file, this is an example using Google Spreadsheets. So to do that here, you would just go to File, Download As, and then the comma separated values option. It's very similar if you use something like Excel or some other spreadsheet program. They nearly all have a way for you to do this, so it's very straightforward to do. And once you've got that file, you just then need to click Browse to upload it. You'll see it's then waiting to be uploaded, and just click Submit. It will then load it all into your account for you. So within a few seconds, it will show in the data area for your bulk data feed. You can see a few at the top there on the screen. You can add new data at any time. As I said earlier on, you can add new data on an individual basis. So there may be occasions where every so often you want to add some more. For example, if you're doing a promotional type bulk data feed, you may want to add new promotions every so often just to keep that feed flowing along. You can delete any line via the icon on the right hand side, and also delete them in bulk. So all fairly straightforward. So it's very adaptable to what you want to use. You can edit them at any time as well, just by clicking the pencil icon there. So that will allow you to edit the line directly. Just to show you this as well, if you enter an image there and you're thinking of using the bulk data feed for Twitter, just bear in mind that using an image does reduce the amount of characters available for the tweet. So as we're publishing this for you through the system, if your summary text is longer than permitted by Twitter, we will truncate that, or we will shorten that for you, just to make sure that tweet still goes out. So we add a ... at the end, for example, after taking what we need to off the end to make sure it fits. So just bear that in mind as you go through this. But that functionality does allow you, of course, to post to multiple social profiles. So you may have slightly longer bits of text for, say, Facebook, but then we would automatically just shorten that down if you were to link this up to a Twitter profile as well through a publishing channel, and I'll show you that shortly. So just to clarify the tweet issue, normally, of course, it's 140 characters. If you include a link, it's slightly different if you're including a HTTP link compared to an HTTPS, a more secure link. So it uses 22 or 23 characters, as you can see. So if you're including a normal HTTP link, you'll be left with 118 characters or 117 for HTTPS. Very similar if you include an image. What Twitter does is reduce the number of characters available to you again to 117 characters available for text. If you include both a link and image, obviously those two are added together, so you'll have even fewer characters. So just bear that in mind as you're putting data together for this, if you're intending on publishing to Twitter with it. So for a link and image, if it's HTTPS or a secure link, it'll be 94 or 95 for HTTP. So we'll need to activate the bulk data feed that we've set up. So we've now added all the data into that, so it's ready to go really. But it won't start actually publishing until we're ready. So we're going to set up the publishing channel first, and I'll show you how to do that. Link it with your bulk data feed, and once that's all set up, we can then activate the bulk data feed, get that running for you, and that will then feed the publishing channel and enable that to start publishing for you on the schedule that you've set within the bulk data feed. So the usual way to start a publishing channel, though there are more detailed videos on creating publishing channels within the Be Everywhere Academy section on vWriter.com. So just a quick reminder, go through the menu on the left, the channel link, or hover over the channels and just click the plus icon, or from the menu channels, new publishing channel. You'll notice I've selected the source that I've just entered. So that's the first job, to link it up with your publishing channel. And I'm then wanting to post to Twitter. So I just drag across the Twitter icon you can see on the left there, drag it across with my mouse, drop it on the profiles, and it will show there. Or you can just click on the profiles field and select it. It's whatever you feel more comfortable with. Let's go through a couple of other settings. The content length, you can set that as you want to. I'm going to set that to the maximum. If you set that to fewer characters, just bear in mind we'll truncate your content for Twitter to make sure it fits into your character specification. On the hashtag, I want every one of these tips to go out with the same hashtag. So if someone wants to go and see them all, they can just enter that hashtag into Twitter. They can do a search for that and see them all grouped together, should they so wish. And that's really it for the publishing channel. So it's very, very straightforward. We're not asking writers to create content for us or anything like that. It's all within the data file we've uploaded. So the auto create content is automatically selected there. It will just basically publish what is in the file. There's nothing else. We don't want to do anything with the source flow control. You could do, but most of the time for bulk data feeds you won't want to do, so we'll just publish them as they appear on the schedule we've set, which was every 5 days. So click activate. It will then tell us that it has been indeed successfully activated and it's now running for us. You'll remember that we have not yet activated our bulk data feed. So although the publishing channel is up and running, it's waiting for content to come through to it. Nothing will come through to it until we activate that bulk data feed and get the content publishing through the feed in effect. So to do that, we'll just go back to the source manager. So click sources on the left-hand menu, the content source manager. And you'll see a little play icon there. It will tell you it's pending activation. So it's fairly obvious all the time that it's waiting for something to happen. Click the play icon to activate it. Within a few seconds, it will then show that it is indeed active. You'll get a message to confirm it and so on. And now that will send the first bit of data through to that publishing channel that you've set up, and after that it will publish at the schedule you've chosen. So if I activated this today, the next piece of data on that feed will publish in 5 days' time because that's what I asked it to do. And you'll see it as it starts publishing for you. You'll see it on your content source manager when it last published, and it will just confirm to you how often it publishes. So it's a constant source of reference. You don't have to keep going back through to check. You can view the different source items within the bulk data feed as they are published. So that you can see the first item is there now, that it's just started publishing, it's just on there now. As you continue publishing, then obviously that list will grow down with the different content items that are coming through. And the first piece of content was published through the channel. You can see this on the content manager. It was scheduled for publication. I did this earlier today, so it was scheduled for publication later tonight, basically because I'd set up the publishing time windows to publish between certain hours this evening only. So it will schedule based on those publishing time windows for each profile that you've got set up with the publishing channel. But I moved that forward just to show how it does publish. So I moved that to earlier today. It published straight through, and you can see an example of that showing up in the Twitter feed. So that's the first content item from the bulk data feed that's gone through the publishing channel and has been automatically published onto Twitter as a result. So that now runs on autopilot automatically. It took about 5 minutes to set up. With 101 data items on that particular feed, it's going to publish every 5 days, so it will roughly continue to publish for the next 16 months. I don't have to do anything else for that. It will just carry on doing it. I can then, for example, set up another bulk data feed. I can use the same data, so upload the same CSV file again. For this one, I want to publish slightly more with more of a gap between each piece of data. Facebook's a very different environment to Twitter, of course. So I've set this to publish every 10 days via a different bulk data feed, so a different frequency setting, and set up through a publishing channel to post to Facebook, but it's up to you where you want that to publish to. You can see an example of that as it's gone through. So it's published to Facebook in a similar way to how it published to Twitter. So you can use these in different ways. I could have set up the same publishing channel to publish to both Twitter and Facebook had I wanted to, but I wanted the different frequency of publication there. So I set up a different bulk data feed, a different schedule. So it publishes at a different schedule every 10 days instead of 5, and set up a different publishing channel to take care of that for me. This shows a different use of a bulk data feed. So this was just for motivational quote images. And you can see if you just hover over the link within the feed, it will automatically bring back that image for you. So you can see immediately what type of image you're sending out in your feed just by hovering over the link. It comes up, within a millisecond or so. So it's very different. Just on that, again, you can see it's only a link. It's only an image, rather, only a link to an image. There's no link to elsewhere. There's no summary text. It's just going to be an image that's published. The publishing channel that was set up for this, again, it was set up to publish to Twitter. I'd set basically a pool of different hashtags. You can see those in the middle. So I've got quotes, daily quote, motivation, quote. These were basically fairly popular hashtags used on Twitter for this type of content. So I entered them all in there, and I said I just want the system to take one of those with each tweet that goes out and use them in that way. So we'll just pick one of those at random, and when it publishes, take care of that for you. So you can see how this looks on Twitter as it's gone through. You've got one with the quote hashtag, one with daily quotes, one with the motivation hashtag, and we'll just continue publishing this until it's finished going through that whole list, and I can then review the data I've got in there, start it again, or however you want to proceed from there. In terms of next steps for yourself, think about how you could use bulk data feeds for your own business. So in what ways would these be beneficial to you in the ways that we've discussed? You could have tips and information similar to my main example. They're really good for community and relationship building. You're adding value to the people who follow you. You're not asking them for a click through. You're not trying to sell anything. You're just kind of giving value to the people who follow you. You can, of course, also link back to content for traffic building, so link back to your blog posts, to other types of content, and so on. Run promotions, run some offers every so often, grow sales. As I said, it's not a real direct selling environment on social, but you can do this periodically depending on the type of business you run. Link back to name squeeze pages, as I mentioned at the beginning, helps to grow leads. So just have a bulk data feed. You may even just publish this, every month. It may be that infrequent. It's completely up to you how you use this, but just every so often you're continuing to populate your social profiles completely automatically, and you can have a number of these different bulk data feeds set up and feeding your profiles with different types of content, all benefiting you in multiple ways. And really, you have to do very little other than just set it up in the beginning and then let it run. So try creating your first BDF, your first bulk data feed. Just add some data. It doesn't have to be a lot if you don't have a lot to start with, but just get a feel for how that works. You can also, of course, just pause that publishing channel at any time. So you could just set it off and then pause it, and then once you've got the hang of that, build it up from there. Think about where to go from there. Create a publishing channel for yourself. Activate the bulk data feed. So it's really in that order. You add the data as you set up the bulk data feed, then create the publishing channel, and then just make sure you activate that bulk data feed so it starts publishing for you. And then really just sit back and relax and let it do its thing. Enjoy your growing presence on social media thanks to this type of functionality, with increasing traffic, leads, and sales, and so on, depending on how you're using it. I'd really recommend to have a number of these BDFs operating for you in different ways, different time periods between each piece of data, and so on. There's no ongoing time commitment for you once these are running. They're just doing their stuff for you. It's really like having a staff member who's updating your social media on a daily basis, but it's all taken care of for you automatically, of course. So I hope you found that helpful, and I hope you will now go away and make use of bulk data feeds. They're really kind of a valuable piece of the functionality. In case there are any questions, please let me know. Whether that's to do with what I've presented today or any other aspects of using vWriter, feel free to fire away, and I'll hang around for a few minutes in case anybody does have any questions. But otherwise, again, thank you very much for joining me today, and I hope you have a lovely weekend ahead.